I'm sure these units of time are familiar to us. The year, month, week, day, hour, minute, and second. And we want to convert among these. We're going to use the same techniques that we used before. These are our conversion factors. We know that 1 week is 7 days, 1 day is 24 hours, 1 hour is 60 minutes, and 1 minute is 60 seconds. Now, when we're using the conversion rate idea for converting from one unit to another, we can think in this way as we have before. The notion of 24 hours per day, 24 hours in a day, 24 hours per day, the per idea leading to the notion of dividing 24 hours divided by 1 day, 24 hours over 1 day. Or we could write this as 1 day is the same as 24 hours. And these fractions are simply equal to 1, so in multiplying by them, we're not changing the value of the item that we started with. We can multiply something times this and get an equivalent amount. Well, at any rate, using that idea and using this kind of as a backdrop, we can convert 5.5 days into hours. 5.5 days to hours. And let's look at it in two different ways. If we're using the conversion rate idea, we look at it like this: 5.5 days times, and we set up our conversion rate with the day idea in the denominator so that we'll get a cancellation here with the days. And we know that it's 24 hours for 1 day, so it's 24 for 1 day. You see, and now we have the cancellation. And I'm writing another step here because I converted 5.5 into an improper fraction, 11 over 2. And now we're ready to go with the multiplication. The days canceled, and so our unit is going to be hours, as we expected. And 11 over 2, the 2 will cancel with the 24. 2 into 2, 1. And 2 into 24, 12. And then 11 times 12 turns out to be 132. So 5.5 days is 132 hours. Now, this is one technique for conversion that we've looked at in the past, and we've also looked at it in another way. And that other way is like this. We think through the problem like this. We're converting from days to hours, and we think, well, gee, we're converting to a smaller unit, and so there's going to be more of them, and therefore we multiply to get more, and we multiply by the number of small units it takes to make one of the larger one. And since there are 24 hours in a day, we're going to multiply by 24. So we're taking 5.5 and multiplying by 24. So 11 over 2 times 24 over 1, 132. So 132 hours for 5.5 days. Here's another one, and this one is a little more imposing because we are, well, let's take a look at it. We want to convert 2,880 minutes into days. And the challenge here is the idea that we don't know how many minutes there are in 1 day. We don't have a simple conversion for the number of minutes in a day. We know about hours in a day, and we know about minutes in hours, but we don't know about minutes in days. Now, once again, there are a couple of ways of approaching the idea. But here's the flow of it. We're going to change this number of minutes into some number of hours, and then the hours into days. And we can do it all in one flowing problem if we want to. And it would be done like this. It's 2,880 minutes times, and now we want to use the minutes and hours idea. So it would be hours over minutes. And I want to emphasize this here because of the opportunity to make a cancellation. And when these cancel, then our unit of measure will become hours, and then we slide on over and we want the number of hours in a day. You see, we're converting to days, and we want this conversion, this idea of a relationship between hours and days, so that the hours will cancel and we'll end up with days. You see, we get a cancellation here for the minutes, cancellation here for the hours, and we end up with a unit of days. And so that's how we kind of structure our multiplication process here. Now let's put in the numbers, minutes to hours. Let's see, there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. And for the hours in the day, let's see, there are 24 hours in 1 day. All right, so now away we go. And the cancellation of the units will give us some number of days for the result. Now let's multiply 2,880. Now remember, this is over 1, and when we're multiplying fractions, we multiply straight across. So 2,880 times 1 times 1 is 2,880 for the numerator. And in the denominator, we have 60 times 24, which is 1,440. So this is this fraction number of days. But when we divide 1,440 into 2,880, it goes 2 times. So this is 2 days. 2 days. The whole idea here and the challenge in working the problem this way is to make sure we get these cancellation opportunities in order to get our unit correct for our answer. And once we get that all straightened out, we can put in the numbers and then just multiply the numbers as they appear. Now, let's look at it another way. Let's go from the idea of changing the minutes into days. And we think, well, we're changing into a much larger unit. There's going to be fewer of them, so we're going to divide. And now, what do we divide by? Because we don't have a simple conversion, as we mentioned before, of the number of minutes in a day. So we have to discover that. We have to go out to the side or somewhere and figure out how many minutes there are in a day, because we know we're going to divide by that number. We decided that according to this kind of logic flow. Well, one day is 24 hours, and 24 hours is how many minutes? You see, that's how we're finding out how many minutes there are in this one day. So 24 hours is how many minutes? And again, we go through this idea of hours to minutes. Well, wait a second. We're changing, or we're discovering how many minutes there are in an hour, but we're converting from a larger unit to a small one here. There's going to be more of them, and so we're going to multiply by the number of minutes in an hour. Well, there's 60 minutes in an hour, so we're going to multiply 24 times 60 to get 1,440. Now, we went through all of this. All of this part of the problem is just to discover the number of minutes in a day in order to know what to divide by up here. And that number is 1,440. We divide 1,440 into 2,880 to get 2, and 2 days then is the number of days there are in 2,880 minutes.